So, how long have you worked at Texas State Technical College?
So I've worked for TSCC since 2013. So going on 8 years about in September. I think it'll be about 8 years.
Okay, nice. And can you describe your role and your team structure?
Yeah, definitely. I'm the director of career services for the Waco location. We have 10 locations across the state, and I oversee kind of the central Texas area. So you have North Texas, which is the DFW area, Waco, which is where I'm at, and then we have a East Williamson County campus, which is right outside of Austin. So I oversee those three, and I have about five employees under me, and we just work together and we kind of bridge the gap from students and alumni to our industry partners.
Okay, awesome. And typically, how many students would you say that you work with?
I would say anywhere given to about 2 to 3 thousand, just depending on the semester. We're going into the summer semester starting next week, and enrollment kind of drops just because traditionally students only go to school spring and fall, and they usually take the summer off.
Right. Okay. And what would you say is your favorite part of your job?
So pre-COVID, it was graduation because we worked graduation and we got to see those students that we worked with throughout their time at TSCC and help them get ready to jump into the workforce. So that was a great opportunity to see those individuals finally celebrate with their families and kind of end a long journey. But now I think it's just getting emails or phone calls from students saying, "Hey, I got that job with that company that you um, introduced me to," or my resume looked really good. I got some great feedback on it. So any of those things, it's always good to hear that.
Yeah, just seeing the impact and actually knowing that you were able to help. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
So, can you share your educational background and your previous work experiences to kind of let us know how you ended up where you are now?
Yeah, definitely. So I graduated in 2014 with my bachelor's from the University of Texas, the Rio Grande Valley down in South Texas. And then right into that, I pursued my master's from Tarleton, which was a human resource management master's. And then my first real job, if you will, has been with TSCC. I'm an alumni of TSCC as well. So I have an associate's from there, but I was a student worker in the career services department while I was attending school, and it kind of just led into a secretarial position into the department, and I just kind of worked my way through.
Okay. So did you always kind of know that the career services is where you wanted to be, or did that just kind of open up for you along the way?
It really just opened up. So I was also in the military, so I did HR in the military right after high school. I didn't know if college was kind of in the big picture for me. So I was like, let's join the military. So I did that. And then when I got out, that's where I attended TFCC and just looked for a part time job there at the school. And I was led into the career services, and that's where I worked. And, talking to the director then, she said, your background in HR would really help you and help us if you were a full-time employee with career services. So it just kind of really led itself into that.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Mhm.
So can you talk about a little bit about the process that you go through to connect students and employers? Like, how do you help them build that relationship initially? And then how do you know if a student could possibly be a right fit for a specific company?
So initially, we want to make contact with students within their first semester. Just let them know about our department, who we are, what services we have, and how we can help them, and that we are a true resource through their educational career at TSTC, and then even after they leave. So when they become alumni as well, we're still here. They can come back and seek us as a resource if they need to. So we have various events that we like to host. One of those is called an employer spotlight, and that allows a industry partner to come on campus and kind of give a informational session, if you will, and discuss their organization, give some history about their organization, the background, what they do, what opportunities they have for our students. So I would say that's the initial connection. And from there, it just grows, and students stay in contact with these recruiters we hold various industry job fairs on campus. Now with COVID, everything's virtual, but that's been one of the great things about our department is that although we had to shift like everybody else, I would say we had a smoother transition than a lot of other departments that had to make that transition.
Okay. So do you feel like you guys still, with the virtual environment, you still have high engagement rates, or do you think it's still less because of COVID and everything?
It's not what it was when we were in person, obviously, because it's just in person. I think it's just so much different because you have that human interaction. You know, I mean, we're
Right.
interacting now, but it's very different if we were sitting across a table or in person versus, you know, virtually seeing each other. So our engagement went down a little, but I see it increasing as students get used to it, as our industry partners get used to working virtually, as even my employees and I get used to working virtually. You know, it's just it almost is becoming a way of life, if you will. You
Right.
know, so everybody's just kind of getting used to it and knowing what to do and things like that. And you know, working with these employers, you build those relationships with them, and you kind of know what they're looking for as in students. So and then as we work with students, we don't give preference to one student over another because we have to give the same opportunity to all students.
Yeah.
But you know, going back to your question, how do we know if a student's a good fit for a particular company? You know, you see those values in these companies and what they value, and then you see those same things in these students. And
Mhm.
so, kind of telling an employer, hey, make sure you interview, or you know, if you want a student, interview this student. You know,
Right. Just kind of guiding them in the right direction.
yes, exactly.
Okay. Cool. So, do you see any common issues that you find most students are struggling with today? And if so, do you have like an answer that you think they need to hear to overcome it?
Yeah, I think the common issue is not using resources. You know, um, we are a department on campus, and many students won't hear about us until their final semester. You know, they're like 2 weeks out from graduation, or maybe a month out for graduation, and they're like, "Hey, Jose, I'm graduating from so and so program. How can you help me with my resume?" And you know, that's hard to get a resume together within 2 weeks or even a week because they have to go straight to the workforce. So I think the biggest thing would be pay attention to new student orientation, whether it's in person, virtually. Listen to those speakers that are on campus because we are a huge resource to you, and we want to help you while you're on campus or seeking a degree from our institution.
Right, I completely agree. I think that a lot of students don't realize that it's a longer process than just finding a job at the end of college. It takes time and building those relationships. So,
Yeah,
totally.
and that's the biggest thing is that taking time. You know, I think a lot of students think that when they come to our office that we're just going to open a book, pull a job out, and here's your job, go for it, you're good to go. As much as I would love to do that, I mean that would make my job so much easier. But I mean, that's just not the way life is. You know, so we tell the students that all the time. You know, we don't have a drawer full of jobs where we can just pull one out of a folder and say you start tomorrow, because again, as much as I would love to do that, I think that would be amazing, but it does take time.
Right. So I know that you wish that students recognize the resources more and utilized you guys more, but is there anything else that you wish students knew about Texas State Technical College in general, or about your career services office specifically?
Yeah, I think at the college as a whole is, you know, kind of going back, even when I was in high school, it was always pushed to get a 4 year degree, you
Mm.
know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have a 4 year degree and I even have a graduate degree. That is great. But looking at the technical industry and the technical skills gap, it is huge. And it's a real thing. You know, we have a lot of the baby boomers that are already retiring from those industries and those sectors. Once they walk out and once they leave and retire, we're going to have a huge gap. So letting individuals know, whether they're a current student or even somebody who's looking at coming to TSCCs, that a 2 year degree can go very far, you know, but it's hard work, you know. Being a plumber, for example, being out there in the hot sun or in the frigid cold, working on pipes that busted. You know, we just had a huge freeze in February that set record that broke records here in Texas. And then we're about to go into summer. Again, it's hot. If you've never been to Texas, it gets hot in the summer. So if you're an HVAC tech, again, that's going to be your busiest time because ACs may go out or something's wrong with them and things like that.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, if you were to look back at your college self and know everything that you know today, what advice would you give yourself about college or professional development, networking, the job search, anything like that? What do you wish that you would have known?
I wish I would have known networking. I'm a very shy person when it comes to big groups. I think networking is the biggest thing. The people friends who know friends and things like that. That's going to be the biggest thing. I think my journey was a little easier because I was a student worker in the career services department already. So I kind of moved from here and then just kind of shimmied over to a full-time position. So it was a little easier for me. But if I would have to say, I would say networking for sure. I think that's the biggest thing that I had in my mind too, because I was very, I would go to class and just go home, do homework, go to work. I didn't join any other things, any extracurricular activities, whether it be any clubs or join any community leagues such as volleyball, softball, any of that thing. But all those, you build networks, and things like that. So I think that's the biggest thing that I would fix if I could go back.
Right. Sometimes it's not about what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
You're getting that college experience and you're getting your education, but you got to build those relationships too.
Exactly.
So switching over to your relationship with grad leaders, how would you say that grad leaders has impacted your recruitment efforts, your hiring events, and just your overall experience working in career development?
Yeah, GradLeaders is amazing. I cannot speak enough about them. I think we joined them back in 2008 when they were a CSO. Their main office was in Austin. So the cool thing about it was they would have a conference every year for, I think it was new schools or first time schools that would join their the platform. And they would have it in Austin. It was a couple of days. I think they had a 5K every morning or something like that. I can't remember. But I went and it was great information, a great networking opportunities because you have colleges from all over the US and then even from other countries that use grad leaders that come specifically to Austin and that you're able to network with them. I think going forward, they've just innovated so much with the pandemic. Grad leaders jumped on it and they started just developing so much stuff with the web RTC communication. I mean, I think I mentioned it once and they said, "Hey, we're already working on that." And I was like, amazing. I was like, we were thinking about that we might have to look for another platform, but you know what? Grad leaders rose to the occasion, said, "Hey, it's not perfect, but we need partners like you to tell us what to fix or what you're seeking to make it better." And that's exactly what they've done. I went pre-pandemic. I think it was in 19. CSO had I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it was a get together there in Columbus, Ohio, and I was able to attend that, and it was really nice. And I got to meet Ryan. I think he's the VP of marketing. Very, very nice. I met the CEOs because I think at that time it transitioned into new ownership. Very small, intimate. Got to meet some really good employers, made some really good connections, and it's just them being a small company and them knowing who I am, all the way from Texas, and then be like, "Oh yeah, we know who TSCC is. We know who Jose is, or what the college does and what they're about." So I think that's very great, and we use the platform for everything, So it's been really amazing to see them innovate and how they've been able to help us capture students and whatnot.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. They definitely listen to the problem and they're always working on fixing a solution, and they pride themselves off building relationships rather than just sending you a platform and hoping that it helps. They actually want to see it through. So,
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's knowing people on first name basis, it's just a great building that relationship, it's almost like networking,
yeah,
being able to cultivate and then just nourish those relationships and stuff like that.
awesome. So have you had the chance to use the GradLeaders embedded video meeting tools yet?
Yes, we have. So when it first launched, we used it for a virtual career fair in the fall of 2020. Yeah, fall 2020, we used it that first time. Worked great. We learned some things, and we just used it again um, last semester for our spring one, and it worked amazing. Again, there's some things that we need to work on our end. I think we've had just some small kinks in there that we need to work out, and then specifically in Waco, we use it for all of our workshops.
Okay.
So anytime we have resume workshops, networking and professionalism workshops, anything like that, that's where we host them, is through that.
Okay, good. So you guys have had a good experience so far. How do you
Yeah,
feel like the students are experiencing this? Like, do you feel like they're receptive to it? They're using it well? They enjoy it?
yeah, I think they're receptive to it. I think the other side of it too, it makes students engage with the system.
Okay.
A lot of students will wait till the very last semester to engage with higher TSCC, but now as we hold these workshops and put them through higher TSCC, they're engaging more often, they're logging in more often, they're um, going through the system. So I think it's very helpful.
That's awesome. That's exactly what we want to hear. I'm glad to
Yeah,
hear it.
when it helps too, because we see engagement and we say, hey, maybe they're not engaging with us, but at least they're logging onto the platform. They're clicking on job postings. They see our events. They're applying through GradLeaders and stuff like that. So it's very nice.
Well, good. I'm so happy to hear that. Well, that's pretty much all the questions that I have for you. Was there anything else you wanted to add about your position? Any advice you have? Anything about grad leaders? Anything at all?
No, just thank you to everybody at GradLeaders. You guys have been amazing. I work closely with Carlina, and I believe she's in Austin. She's amazing. If she doesn't have the answer, she'll look for it or she'll research it and she'll get back to me really quick. Ryan's been really great too. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but I know he's up in Ohio. But everybody from even the IT team to the help desk, I mean, the company is just great. Everybody there is awesome, and I appreciate them. Innovating so quickly and jumping up and being able to create this web RTC software.
Well, great. I mean, we appreciate you as well and your partnership. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this and all your great advice. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I will talk to you soon.
Yep.
Bye bye.